Good morning. It's David Rizzo with Rogers Gardens. Got to talk with my hands. It's early in the morning and it's sort of cold. But today we're going to talk about February in the garden. So this is an interesting time of year because we're in like a transition. We're not quite out of winter, but we're not quite into spring. But we're going to start, we didn't get a lot of rain this year. We'll see what March brings because you never know. Last year we had a lot of rain in March and April. But we've been pretty damp at night. We've been, like I said, not a lot of rain, a little bit warmer. Little Santa Anas, so you got to watch with the Santa Anas, boy. Sometimes I'll water a little extra when the winds really come in strong, so watch those. And before you get started, I want to plug one of my favorite events is coming up, Tomato Mania. I love this event because I love growing tomatoes. So like end of this month, beginning of February, we have over like almost 300 varieties. I think it's like 280, 290 now. So good event. It lasts from February 28th to March 9th. So that's when to keep your dates open for in the later part of this month. And so in a lot of, like one thing before I leave, you got a really good selection of peppers too. So even though it's a Tomato Mania event, there's, we're gonna do some little like reels and stories on it. So watch for that. Okay, let's get started. Let me put this down. Let me move some stuff so I don't trip on it. So this time of year, like I said, we're on that transition. So I'm gonna go through the vegetables and the herbs and some of the flowers. And if you guys have any questions, hold your questions till the end, and then I'll go through, I'll answer some of the questions at the end. Okay, so starting off, so as we are going into February with vegetables especially, we're just on that fence where I still will plant a lot of lettuces. So I'm doing all my lettuces, all my greens still. So I'm doing like the red leaf lettuces. I'm doing the gourmet mixes. I love the gourmet mixes. Sometimes I add a little bit more romaine to them. So I love the gourmet mixes. I love these because you can cut and come again. They're not one harvest varieties. So that's why some people ask me, why don't you talk about some of the head lettuces like the Great Lakes and the Crispinos and the bibs and the butterheads. You only get one harvest out of them. With this, I can cut this romaine about an inch above the soil, and I'll probably get 4 or 5 harvests out of it. So that's why I tend to lean more towards the leaf lettuces or the romaines because they're cut and come again and they're faster. So definitely planting all of those, and even your mixes like your spicy mixes, like with the mizunas and the arugula and the mustard greens, still plant those. They're great to put in. And so with even like, I'm gonna go through seeds too. Spinach, I'm doing spinach. I do a couple of types of spinach. This is Matador, Lavua. The difference I do with spinach is I've had better luck with direct seeding it in the garden. I don't buy transplants. Spinach is very finicky to be transplanted from a transplant. What's interesting that I didn't know, they have a small taproot like a parsnip. And so that's probably why they don't like transplanting. But I direct sow them directly in the garden. Make sure with these though, you get them in full sun. Lettuces can take more shade. Spinach wants full sun. And the arugulas, I definitely do the arugulas. Now my favorite, I'm holding up spinach to that. Sorry. Thanks for telling me, Sabrina. But Astro arugula is one of my favorite varieties of arugula because this is more what they would consider like a lettuce leaf type, and it's very tender and it doesn't bolt as quick. So Astro, one of my favorite varieties, and I can direct sow it. I can buy plants or wherever I can find, but definitely Astro. That's a good one. And talking more about the seeds of the lettuce I do, I'll do some of the different romaine. This one is New Red Fire. That's a good one. The black seeded Simpson is a good one. Good cut and cam again, leaf lettuce. See, I love these when they do the mixes. I love the mixes because this might have, what does it have in it? It has royal oak leaf, it has La Raza, black seeded, it has some Mizuna in it too, but that's a good mix. That's Chef's Medley. So I like to get it because then you're not buying so many packs. You're just doing a little at a time. And what you can do is succession planning. Plant a little bit every 2 weeks. So put a little bit in, wait 2 weeks, put a little bit in. You know, don't. That's one thing. It's good to sort of do a succession where you give. That's what a lot of the smaller farmers and the urban farmers and some of the small market growers, they don't plant once a month. They do a succession. So that way they'll have a continuous harvest. So that's a good one. This is another one. This is bigger packs. Farmers Market Blend. I like the bigger packs. This is almost 5 grams, 4.5. So I do like the bigger packs. So with that, so that's with the veggies. And one last thing before I go: broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage. We're already into February. If we have a cool March and April, these will head up. But if we warm up in March and April, they won't. So you're on the fence with broccoli and cauliflower. I don't push it as much this time of year because if we warm up into the 75 in the day, these won't head up. So that's one thing with those. And talking about root crops I can do right now. We'll carry with the vegetables for a minute, and then I'll go herbs. So I'm doing carrots from seeds. I have Bolero. I have the Sunshine Mix. I like the Nanities. I do like the dwarf varieties. I didn't bring any of them up, like the little French fingers. Plant them from seed. Don't buy the transplants. Carrots always do better when you buy the seeds. So you direct sow them. Carrots take about 2 weeks, so you got to water them and you got to be patient. Moving on, radishes. I like the French breakfast because they're not spicy. These are really quick. Radishes are one of your fastest root crops. 35 to 40 days, so month and a half. Good plant right now. Beets again, just like carrots. I'll hold up the carrots. They grow better from seeds. When you buy the transplants, sometimes the beets will be like sort of tough and not as good. So the gold beets, Touchstone Gold is one of my favorites. Early Wonder, if you juice a lot and you're juicing them, this is a good one. Or if you're harvesting the tops for beet greens, good one. These are the good ones for roasting, like the Merlin and some of the, there's an Italian one that I bring up, the Chioggas. They're better for roasting because they're not so juicy, where this one, better for juicing, smoothies. This one, better for roasting. So big difference on some of them, how the variations can be a little bit different on how you use them. But any of these, like I said, you can saute the beet greens really good. So do those from seeds and plant them shallow and just be patient too, because it takes about 2 weeks sometimes for them to germinate. Another thing that I do a lot from seed, I really like direct sowing the scallions. So White Lisbon, Parade, Tokyo, Long White. I love planting a little bit in the garden. So what I love doing with the scallions is I don't harvest them all at once. I pull out 2 or 3 and I might grill them, and then I might cut them up and put them with tacos. But I love scallions for the flavor. I just don't, I can plant a lot of them, but I can pull them up when I need them. But don't let them get really big because then they get real tough. So that's another thing. Pick them younger, use them younger. That's what I do with scallions. Some other really fast vegetables that I like. I do like the pak choys and the bok choys, like little mini pak choy called Green Jewel. I like the ones that are white stemmed because they're more tender. This one is Little Jade, Napa cabbage. You do got to watch for the Napa cabbage. The pill bugs love them. So you can take one of the organic slug baits. This is one of the only ones I'll use in a garden. This is Sluggo Plus, and so this is iron phosphate. It's just a little bit more safer because they're toxic to iron, but this isn't toxic to anything else. And be very careful with slug baits because they're methaldehyde based. You don't want your pets to get a hold of them. So that's why the sluggos are the iron phosphates. This is just going to break down into iron into your soil. Safe in an edible garden, safe around citrus, safe around your vegetables. Only one I use for snails in my garden. So that ties up with the veggies. And so strawberries. We'll move into strawberries before herbs. Plant your strawberries right now. You can get them in bare root. You can get them in color packs. I go both, but I do like bare root sometimes. But always get them little. Like this is All Star. These are Albions. You see how short these little plants are? Sometimes I'll even pick off the flowers when I plant, just because they're too little yet. It's still time to do the bare roots, and so I got a bag. They look pretty dried out. So this is one of my favorite varieties of strawberries. It's called Seascape, and Seascape is an everbearing type. So I know I talked about this last month, and I'm going to talk about it again. It's like, so when you plant them, don't keep them long. Spread them out and sort of push them. Get those roots spread out and push it down. And don't plant the crown really deep. Only go up to about here. Room in the ground. You can always do strawberry containers. You know, these are great to use, the little strawberry pots. Now you'll feed these in the side, and then you'll pack the moss around them, and you'll pack the soil around them from behind. So it's hard to hold all at once, but moss or sphagnum moss, and all the way in. I leave the neck out a little bit, and then it keeps the soil from draining all out onto your patio. And you can, strawberries, I mean, you don't have to really heavy feed them. I mean, a little fertilizing goes a long way. You could use cottonseed meal. You could use I love the down to earth, so I use the Bio Alive a lot. So that's, a lot of people want to fertilize so heavy, and the main thing is with feeding like vegetables and strawberries, be consistent, but don't overdo it, you know. So, but the bare roots, you get 15 in a little bag. They're $6.99 a bag, and now it's time to plant them. Anything bare root, you really want to get it in before the end of the month. So this is the time to get it in, or you're going to run too late. So that's one thing with strawberries and fruit trees and roses and all of them. Get them in before we go more into February. I like to try to get stuff in the next 2 weeks, because then you'll water it in good, and the cold nights will get it established. But if you wait all the way to March and we warm up, they're going to struggle. So that's one thing with bare roots too. Get them in now. So shifting gears, herbs. So this is a different time of year for herbs, because since it's really still cold at night, we're doing more of the perennial herbs. You're not going to see as many annuals. So it's really too early to do basils and dill. If you see them and you buy them, you almost got to keep them in the house, because the nights are going to get them. It's too cold and damp. So, but the herbs that I'm doing a lot right now, I can do chervil. Chervil is fine right now. I can do upland cress. Needs a lot of water. Put it in partial sun. Cilantro. Cilantro is good right now, and this is, I'm gonna harvest it. This is pretty overgrown. So if I was buying this one, I'd literally take this, and I love cilantro, and then I would leave it so you see the growth down here, because it has a crown. It's going to come back from this crown, and then I'll use this. And I love cilantro. Oh, smell it, Sabrina. Oh, it smells so good. I love cilantro. I know a lot of people don't like cilantro. See, she's laughing, but she's not really laughing. I saw that. And moving on with the herbs, chives. I love garlic chives. Even though these are little guys, plant your garlic chives right now. You can put them in a pot. You could even, if you really wanted to, you could take this little strawberry pot, put chives in the top or parsley in the top, and then plant strawberries in the sides. So there's certain things you can do if you have limited space. Everybody's always afraid to mix herbs with vegetables and with fruits. You can mix everything together as long as the soil drains. That's most important. So moving on with herbs, you got rue. I got in some liquid lemongrass. You got to sort of keep an eye on it. It doesn't like the colder nights, but just make sure it gets watered and it's in a lot of sun. We brought in some really cool herbs from a grower called Seagrows. This is an edible chrysanthemum. This is a cool one right here. And then we brought in some of the Japanese parsley, the masuba. This is a good one too. So if you're using a lot of the lavenders culinary, the English lavenders like Munstead, you can use Provence, you can use a bunch of them. Sweet lavender, but these are varieties you can use culinary. One place I used to go would make a lemonade lavender tea. It was so good. So love the lavenders. lavenders too, you want to put them in full sun. You don't want to overwater them. That's a big thing. Keep them a little on the dry side. Here goes another one. What's this? This is a type of Japanese mugwort. It's a variety of artists, but Japanese mugwort, another different herb that we got in from Sea Grows. The toothache plant, you know, you're supposed to harvest that, and if you have toothaches, I don't know if they do the root or the leaf on it. Chamomile, another great one for tea, as I picked the cilantro out of it. It's like another good one for tea. They use the flowers. So when this starts growing flowers in summer, they cut the flowers and they steep it, and that's what the tea is. It's not the leaves. And what else do you have? You have margarine, and then I didn't bring up a lot of the regular parsley, but you could do regular. Oh, here I did. So this is really good too. This is the fine leaf. This is the fern leaf parsley. This is really good. Some of the fern leaves have very high oils, and this is just your regular Italian flat leaf. That's good. And I think I brought up borage. You know, I mean, we did get a couple of the Greek basils, but if you plant them right now, I would really protect them at night. Still too cold at night. So that finishes off the herbs. One last thing before we did, I forgot to mention sugar snaps. Plant your sugar snaps right now. Peas. Always plant peas right now because peas love it when you're coming out of winter and going into spring. You put them on a tomato cage, put them in a lot of sun. This is your edible, like, sugar snap. You can do snow peas. Since we're already into February, get plants. So that's important with those is you can do your sugar snaps, your snow peas, or your English shelling peas like your tall telephone pole and all those. But get them in right now. If you don't get a lot of sun in your garden, or if your garden stays too wet, put them in pots. I use old tomato trellises in my old tomato pots. I just put Malibu potting soil in there. I've tried so many potting soils over the years of gardening. My favorite right now, I love the Malibu. It's a rich potting soil, but it has good drainage. That's really important. And I always have trouble with some of the coconut core potting soils because they hold too much water. So you got to watch out on some of those ones that are more coconut core based. That's so fibrous, it holds the water. So that's it for that. How are we doing on time?
We have a little over 10 minutes.
Okay, cool. Then I'm going to go through the flowers now. So the blooms. So right now, we are starting to get in some of the annuals and biennials. So this is a great time of year. And a lot of people wait until all the way in spring when they're almost done. So like right now, putting in your delphiniums. I don't go big, I go small. I don't want them blooming yet. So with biennials, they're in between an annual and a perennial. But they grow really fast. So you plant them right now to get them established. And then by something more into like April, May, they'll be blooming. Like the tall ones. You do got to watch out on the dwarfs. The dwarfs are okay, but they don't seem to bloom as strong. So there's magic fountains. But I always try to get some of the taller ones, like the Guardian series, some of the Shakespeare series, the Pacific Giants, if you can find them. Get the Giants. The Giants bloom a lot better and they're a little stronger. So that's with delphiniums. Delphiniums, I'll tell you, that's interesting. Delphiniums want really good draining soil. If it stays too wet, they rot out. Foxgloves are the other side where they can take more water. So if your soil doesn't drain as good, foxgloves. If your soil drains good, delphiniums. But both of them are very showy. This is your foxglove or your digitalis. We get a lot of the foxy mixes. Sometimes we'll get single color varieties. Like this is foxglove white. It doesn't say the variety, but most of them you'll see foxy mixes, and they are going to be more of a mixture of like more of the lavenders, nothing bright, but get them in right now, get them planted. It really does. I didn't bring up any color packs, but sometimes with some of these, it's good to plant one over here, one over here, one over here. You're not going to get the impact of the flowers. But what I'll do sometimes is I'll plant some of my bedding flowers. I'll put these behind them for height, but I might take a whole 6-pack and literally put them about 12 inches apart on like a little curve, or just that way you get more impact with the flowers. So that's with it. I didn't bring up any larkspur, but larkspur is another one that you can plant right now from color pack. So that's with the biennials. And then some of the what I call them sort of the short-lived annuals. These plants are really to bridge the gap from winter to spring. So a lot of these will bloom for the next 2 months. So a lot of people have been asking me, are they perennials? Like, no, not in our climate. We treat them as annuals because this one's special. This is Cinettii. So this is a variety of Cinerias, and you get some good colors out of them. There's a like a purpley blue. There's a white with a deeper purple center. These are another color. This one's really loose, so I don't know. I didn't get really good. So real dark purple. So these get pretty big and bushy. They'll get 2 feet tall and 2 feet or so. Blooms from February to March, even into April. But usually by when we start warming up in April, they're done. Ranunculus, I'm planting the ranunculus right now. So ranunculus are all coming in, getting some nice ranunculus, and these are these are Bloomsdale. Bloomsdale is really your main variety of ranunculus, and with ranunculus, to keep these blooming, make sure they get enough water, deadhead or trim off the old flowers, and fertilize them. Just keep them going because these are traditionally a bulb. These are sort of, I think, seeded bulbs, but get them growing, get them really, really blooming for the next couple months. And then when they're done, then you'll have more spring stuff to choose from. So that's ranunculus. One of my favorites too, we have a lot of the anemones. So some of the different anemones are coming in, like the Mona Lisas, and this is an anemone mix. I'm not getting a lot of them yet. Let's see if I can find it. This is one to watch for when we go more into February. It's the Italian varieties of anemones. Big flowers, huge blooms, really good rebloomers. So I do watch for these. I think we get them from a few growers out of San Diego, but Italian, Tiger Eye Wine. There are some different varieties of the Italian anemones. And when they're done blooming, don't cut the stalk all the way back. Just prune the top because they'll shoot flowers off that stalk. And they're great bloomers. I clean them up a little bit. Just make sure they get adequate water. I like to plant these around roses. You know, you can mix these with foxgloves around the roses and just give you that nice spring color, you know. Okay, so that's with the anemones. The cyclamen, we're still hanging on to some of the varieties of cyclamens. As we go into the end of this month and next month, they'll start finishing us. If we get hot, if we stay cool, they'll last. Plant your cyclamens. Love the dwarf varieties, love the color. So she just said we have 5 minutes. So that means David has to get moving. So what else? So that's with those. Don't forget to put your sweet peas in right now. So we got a lot of the long stem cutting varieties. These are your Spencer types. White frills is a good one. You have Sunshine Mid Blue, which is a good one. And these are the longer stems with larger flowers. So these are, Jacqueline Ann is a good one. The main thing with sweet peas, with flowering sweet peas, you can put them on a little trellis, on a little cage, but remember with sweet peas, and even edible peas, they have tendrils. So when you look close, see these little tendrils? The tendrils aren't that big. So they have to wrap around stuff that's very little. So they're not gonna wrap around a regular trellis. So usually I'll use bird netting or I'll use raffia twine. It has to be smaller than a pencil. That's why I use those old tomato cages. And the sweet peas will climb anywhere from 4 to 8 feet tall, depending on the variety. But get them in now, don't wait, because you want them to grow in February and into March. And then usually by mid-March to late March, they'll start blooming. So they're day length sensitive. So as the days get longer, it triggers them to bloom. So get them in now, get them growing. Don't put them in any shade. Put them in a lot of sun. I grow them in containers on my patio, and then I just put Malibu potting. So, but my pots are about 15 to 20 inches wide, and I'll put about 4 to 6 in there, and I'll mix the colors. I do save seeds, but I'll tell you more on how I save seeds. So let's get going on color. Let's go color. So moving on from the sweet peas, you can still do your annuals. All your pansies are good, so keep planting your pansies. Well, I'm holding up violas, and I'm saying pansies. You didn't catch it, Sabrina. Oh, gosh. Anyway, violas you can still plant right now because violas are really strong. If we have a cool spring and summer, they'll go right through summer. So I do like the violas. You can plant your midget stock, and your 7-week stock. Very fragrant. Love to put them in. I still do the ornamental kale. I'll do snapdragons. I'm dropping stuff. You didn't see that.
Nothing happened.
It happens when I'm rushing. So that's the one thing with these. Did I bring any more? But with annuals, you can still be like planting all your annuals. So your alyssum, your lobelia, all that stuff. You know, I do plant a little bit different in the shade, and I'll talk more about that. But right now, you can still like all your annuals. Annuals are great. I sometimes will do like phlox and all of them, and that way I'm getting myself into spring, like into late winter into spring. That's important. So moving on, perennials. I'm doing a lot of perennials right now. So like you got how many minutes?
2.
Oh boy, okay. So plant your perennials. Swan River Daisy, your Greggii sage. Oh, one of my favorite plectranthus for shade. You have guacamole. That's a good one. I want to talk to, and we're getting in some of the limelight helichrysums and the scabiosas. These are great to plant in sun too. These are primrose. We always used to plant them in sun below our roses. Everybody thinks it's a shade plant. They'll take partial sun. They'll take full sun on the coast, but if you're farther inland, you probably will put them in a little partial. So the English primrose, I love them. This is a good one to plant. So I want to talk, you know what I'm going to do? I got to move. Let me move this real quick. And what I want to talk about is we got our shipment of summer bulbs in. So I'm going to move. Let's move some of this. God, it's so damp this morning that everything's still wet. So I want to talk about this before we end and fertilizing. And prune your roses and prune your fruit trees right now. If you guys need help pruning those, come in and I'll show you. So we got in all of our summer blooming bulbs right now. So everybody's been asking for them. And so we got in Amaryllis, one of my favorites, Amaryllis belladonna. They call these naked ladies because they usually flush their leaves in the spring. Later into summer, the leaves die and they shoot up a stalk with a flower, more in fall. But you plant them right now, so love Amaryllis belladonna. Love dahlias. Dahlias are one of my favorite flowering bulbs for summer. You can put them in pots, you can put them in the ground. Sheer Heaven by Proven Winners. I don't want to cover up the name. So Sheer Heaven, Proven Winner, that's a good one. It looks like it's a 3 bulb in the pack, and I don't know how tall it is. So 4 feet, looks like it might be a decorative. Decoratives are not small, they're not big, they're right in the middle of the flower. Decoratives are about 4 to 6 inches. Now when you get into dinner plates are 8 to 12 inches. These you gotta stake, but one thing I learned from a grower that works really good, when you plant the bulbs, put a little mini tomato cage over them. The tomato cages help them from the stems breaking. And so that's a big thing because most people put stakes in them and they pierce the bulbs, but this is a good one. This is Fern Leaf Illusion. That's a good Fern Cliff Illusion. Good dinner plate type. Some of the ones I like. This is Dazzling Magic. Is this a dinner plate? 2 other dinner plates? Oh, we're running out of time, man. They're gonna pull the plug on me in a minute. So plant those. I love Tigridias. This is one of my favorite little South African bulbs. Love that one. We're getting in Crocosmias, another good one. We're getting in the double begonias. So the begonias are coming in. I tend to put these in pots or hanging basket. They don't like the ground. They'll rot out in the ground. So that, oh, this is a good one. These are called Suburbia yellow. Got some gladiolas in. Didn't get that many glads in, but gladiolas, if you do cut flowers, they're very long. This variety will get easily 4 feet tall. So that's a good one. Favorite pruners? Love Felcos. Just don't take them. We're selling them. Just don't borrow them. Like I've had that issue lately. But another thing that I want to talk about too, I love growing potatoes. So Huckleberry Gold, I like German Butterball. This is a good one. I love this. And then this is Purple Majesty. I love the purple potatoes because they're not really starchy. And even the German Butterballs aren't real starchy. But the thing when you do plant them, some people will put them on their windowsill to let the islets form, right? There is a term they sometimes call chitting, and chitting is where you let them sprout before you plant them. But another trick when you do potatoes, this is very important. People plant potatoes too high. You want to put them deep. So I'll get like a nice sized container. I use old Monrovia buckets, or terracotta. I put about 8 inches in the bottom. I put these in the bottom, and as they grow, I backfill. Or what David does is, David's the lazy gardener, so David plants them all the way down in the bottom. He backfills about this much soil over it. And people are like, why do you do that? The stem is going to go all the way to the top and come out the top. But when I have 12 to 14 inches of stem, that's where the potatoes grow off of that side stem. If I put them this far under the soil, I'm only going to get 2 potatoes. If I put them this far under the soil, I grow that stem, I might get 4 to 5 pounds. But what I do is when the plant dies, it takes a number of months. It might take 3 to 4 months. Potatoes take a long time. But what I do is, when the plants die, and I sort of will stop watering them. Sometimes I pick them out. I won't wash them off because you want the skin to sort of naturally dry out. Because if you wash them off, then the skin will come off and then they won't last. So that's another thing is you can let them air dry, and sometimes I'll put them on screens in a partially shaded area. But I love fresh potatoes. So German butterballs, we had cow whites. I didn't bring all of them up. I want to talk about fertilizing really quick. So now, it's time, if you haven't done it yet, feed your citrus. Favorite fertilizer? Down to earth citrus. Love it because it has the minerals. If you haven't fed your roses, we're going into the season. We're in February. Fertilize them. Another thing that I do a lot too, all your fruit trees, your peaches, your plums, your nectarines, your apples. Bio Live, I like the all-purpose. All-purpose is very high in phosphorus. See that 6%? That is, if your soil's really bad or it's really low in phosphorus, flowering and for fruiting, that's very important. With feeding your blueberries and acid, very big month to fertilize because this is when a lot of stuff starts breaking its dormancy and coming out. And so that's very important. And if you're feeding roses, usually the first feeding I will, and I don't know where I put it. Let me go over here. You want to use a little bit of Epsom salts. That's a good source of magnesium for your roses. Try to use it at least 2-3 times a year. I do it in spring, I do it in summer. I mix a little bit in when I fertilize. Main thing, water really good. This is a salt, so lightly work it in, water good. So that's important for that. And then I really don't have time to go into some of the organic insecticides, but definitely plant your fruit trees right now too. We got a good shipment of all of avocados in, the lamb pos. We got in some really nice figs and some peaches. So now's a good time to be planting that stuff too before it gets hot in summer. Okay? If you guys have any questions, do you guys have any questions you want to ask?
There are a couple that popped up. One is, what was your schedule? When are you here?
Oh, I can't tell you. It's top secret. I can't tell you my schedule. It's top secret. Right, Nathan? Nathan's still here. He's smiling and they're laughing. So I'm here every day, but I'm not here Thursday or Friday, and some call me up and ask me or come in and see me, and then I can go over more of the detailed stuff, like how to prune the roses, how to prune the fruit trees, because I've been doing it a long time, over 30 years. I'm feeling old. I'm kidding.
And then that last question that we can, so from the fires.
This is the thing with all the fires, and the fires were really bad, in Pacific Palisades and Altadena and Malibu. And I didn't get into that, but the one thing, you want to wash it off. You want to wash off those leaves, because anything that's going to coat the leaves, a lot of plants have spores or stomata, and it's going to smother them. So the best thing is, if you really want, if it comes off, what I'll do is I'll take like an organic soap, but like safer. I'll spray all the plants with organic soap by Safer. I'll let it sit for a half an hour and I'll wash it off. So washing is your best thing because you're cleaning the leaves so it's not smothering the plant. Plants, the leaves breathe like us. So a leaf to a plant is like our lungs. So it's very important that you open up those spores, which is a stomata, because if they get all that ash and that smoke, it's just you wash off the leaves. That's the best thing you can do. And then with ash in the ground, ash tends to be very alkaline. And I will talk more about it. Mitigation. There's a lot of things you can mitigate. Improving the soil with organic matter. Maybe taking off some of the top. Cover crops. These will draw a lot of stuff out of the ground. So if there's toxins from lead and all that, I do the peas, the oats, and the fava beans as cover crop. I'll do wildflowers as a cover crop. The reason why is it will pull a lot of those toxins out of the ground. But one thing I don't do cover crops, this is just me, I don't use clover. Clover takes over. You'll never get rid of it. But I do like the fava beans, I do like the peas and oats, there's vetch, there's cowpeas, there's a whole bunch of legumes that can help you mitigate that soil. And even like I was reading some stuff with Randy from Malibu Compost. He's going to be doing some Zoom classes on how to mitigate. And that's with the organic matter and the compost, the humic acids that they break down into. That helps mitigate too. Okay, any other questions? Come in and see me. This is David Rizzo. Thank you for gardening today. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for joining me today. Happy gardening. Get out in your garden and have fun.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
See you guys.